I am guessing that if you clicked on this video, it's because you have an adult son or daughter who's still living at home, and you're wondering how it got here. You may even be wondering why it doesn't seem to be temporary. And these are things that got me thinking about, did I miss something? Did I fail? Did I do something wrong? Was I too hard? Did I try too hard? Was I too soft? I thought that my family was the exception. I did not realize the actual statistic out there. And I had to look this up a while back. So at the time, I believe it was 48% of young adults between the ages of 18 and 24 were still living at home. That number is now 57% across the United States. And to break that down, I mean, that's an astronomical number if that's actually accurate. But even if it's 1/3 of the age group of between 18 and 24 living at home with their parents, that's still huge. But the other statistic that scared me even more, 61% of families had to end up sacrificing future financial roadway, maybe it's retirement, downsizing a home, to support those young adults. It isn't just us. It's not just you. It's a lot of people. Now, that doesn't excuse everything. There are still absolutely young adults that need to take on more accountability. But it did make me realize, if millions of families are dealing with this same issue, maybe it's not something as simple as go out and get a job. I don't think that most parents are frustrated because their adult kids are living at home. I think they're frustrated because of what they're not seeing. Now, don't get me wrong. If your adult is working full time, saving money, maybe paying a little bit of rent, even if you're saving that rent for them so that they have a bank account once they do decide to move out, maybe they're budgeting, they're learning to get their credit saved up. They're actually learning how to be an adult within your home, your walls. But most of us don't witness that. And I shouldn't say most, that's unfair. A lot of us aren't witnessing those things. What we're seeing is a messy bedroom, and we're not engaging it on that anymore. We're not treating this like it's a child. We're seeing that yesterday looks the same as today. We're seeing that today is going to look the same as tomorrow. And we're witnessing that every conversation starts with or ends with, I'll do it. I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to get that done. I haven't done that yet. I forgot, or I'll get to it, or I'm waiting. We're not frustrated because our kids are living at home as adults. We're frustrated because we're carrying the responsibility of an adult that we're supporting. We should be supporting an adult that wants to learn responsibility and get up on their feet. But right now, we're not seeing movement. You're not seeing forward momentum. And that leaves us questioning everything that we want to work on. How do we get there? The fear isn't that our kids aren't going to make it. The fear is that they're still going to be in the same place in a year from now, because before you know it, 6 months has gone by and there's been no movement. I also think I realized that I was trying so hard that I was pushing my son away. And I was trying because I worried about what he wanted. I wanted the best for him. I had to really step back and realize that all I was doing was causing more harm. And how did I know that? Because he wasn't sitting at the dinner table anymore. He wasn't coming out of his room. He was scared. And I wasn't realizing that my expectation did not line up with, I guess, a strategic direction. He just heard, go get a job. You need to be doing this. This needs to happen. He had no idea the direction that he needed to make this happen. And this is where I think there is a dichotomy between maybe how he grew up and how I grew up. And the expectation was always to figure out my direction. We've given our kids a really great ability of not having to figure out every direction. And, that resonated high with me because ultimately what I needed to do was get him back at the dinner table again. And so I did implement a small meeting that we would get together every week. And I know that sounds super corporate, but what it was guidance. We weren't aiming at each other anymore. We were looking at a piece of paper and figuring out what last week was, what we want next week to be. And eventually that grew into a really great place for us. It just took a lot of time. But accountability and responsibility does have to be taught sometimes, and it also has to be learned. And I needed to be accountable for the fact that I was going out at the wrong direction. My son ended up growing through it and has actually absolutely surpassed every expectation I ever could have had. That wasn't because of what I did. It was because of what he's always had in him to do. I didn't want that dinner table to be empty anymore, and I really wanted to look across it and see my son proud of himself. So by sitting down once a week, What we did was we eliminated the demand and we started with structure. The demand was go get a job, go and apply, go and meet people, go do this, go do that, go do this, go do that, make this happen. Instead, we drafted out what an actual week would look like with activity, and that activity is activity that would lead to a job. What it did was it resolved the friction. And when you have a family that is full of friction because you have adult children living at home that are going nowhere, you end up almost starting resentment in a way. You don't mean to. The problem is you just feel like you're carrying their responsibility. And like I said earlier, I will always support a young adult who is trying to get on their feet and make something of themselves. What I don't want to do is carry the responsibility of an adult that I'm supporting. Those are two very different things. And by doing this structure, he had insight as to what would be an active week. I had the ability to now have something to check for last week, help him with the hurdles that he would need to overcome because there might have been challenges there. And before you know it, we weren't focusing and aiming at each other. We were actually both looking at a piece of paper and we were discussing what was on that next to each other, like a team. It was extremely effective for that reason. Before you know it, we're all back at the dinner table again. And I no longer felt like my son's manager. I wasn't having to micromanage his day. I wasn't having to be worried about what was happening while I was at work. I wasn't having to internalize his every move. I was actually getting excited to hear how his day went. And I got excited because I saw him smiling again. I saw him back at the dinner table. I saw us hanging out in the kitchen, and I saw us spending our weekends together, not trying to avoid one another. We had become a team, and that team is immense when it comes together. And it had to really take me changing my purview, changing my opinion of what the situation was, and coming to where he was, because I wasn't doing that. I was expecting him to rise to where I was. And that's unfair. It's just unfair. I had 50 years of experience under me. He'd only had a couple months. I was proud. I am proud. So if you are a parent watching this video because you have an adult son or daughter sitting at home, tonight when you sit down for dinner, I would hope that there's one thing you could do, is not ask how many applications you submitted today, not ask if you have a job, not drill as to why not. Remember the moments that always made you guys smile. Remember the ones that always brought you guys together. And if you can sit there and help develop what we were talking about in an actual action week for them, tonight enjoy the meal, tonight enjoy one another. Tomorrow, game on. Figure out what an action week looks like. How many applications should they go to? How many doors should they knock on? How many managers should they talk to? And what should they ask when they walk in those doors? Create what an actual week looks like, and then sit down next weekend and go through what the challenges were and help them through those. But remember to share the pride, and remember to share why you are proud of them. It's a tremendous moment. Tonight, I want you just to enjoy the dinner, because I guarantee you, your son or daughter does not need another reminder of what they haven't done. I think maybe they need a reminder that they've got somebody in their corner.